Hey everyone, Sir Jellybean here, and we are back with Court Arms Gates of Hell Ostfront, and this is the Finnish unit review for Conquest. This has been a long time coming. So, a couple of months back, played a full hardcore Conquest with Finland all the way through, so I think I've got a pretty good grasp of their units. And basically, we'll be going through all the units from the top of the unit chart all the way down to the bottom and reviewing them and telling you my opinion on them and how you might use them in Conquest and if they're basically worth the points and the manpower. So, we'll get straight into it. So we'll start here with the officer. Now, do you really need him now? The only thing he really brings that's useful is his binoculars for increased vision. He's good if you want to kind of have the officer there for, I don't know, theatrical purposes, but he's not a definite buy. Some people get use out of him, but personally a recon squad or just using infantry for recons as useful. He's not really worth the points or the population cap. Next, I'd say the command squad. It's a bit better than the officer because you get 4 men, but like I say, it's not necessary. Or it's command team, should I say. But, you know, if you want to bring it for there so you can have an officer around and kind of make it feel more realistic, fill your boots, but not necessary. Command squad's a bit better because it brings some AT, but they are boys AT rifles. These are garbage. As you can see, 7 mils pen at 25 and 100 metres, 5 millimetres a pen. So do not bring these. It's a waste of a unit. You'd be better off with a decent infantry squad, personally. But, you know, each to their own. Now we get to the kind of core basic infantry stuff. So Civil Guard, these are your basic troops. Actually, 100 health, 75 HP. They're very weak. They come with a basic LMG, which I believe is like the Madsen, which is, you know, very basic light machine gun. It's not particularly good. Magazine size is 25. It's not going to really do much for you. This squad is good for kind of defense only, fill in, you know, recruiting weapons, but do not rely on them to be your core infantry units. You're better off moving straight down to the rifle squad or the research tree if it was me personally. Then you got the reservist squad, basically similar to the last one, as you can see, slightly smaller. Stat-wise, the exact same. They're very light, very weak. They do come with a few frags and stuff like the Civil Guard, but they don't bring any specialist equipment either. The only difference is they use the Shao, which is a French light machine gun, 18-round magazine size, so you're not going to be suppressing many targets with that. I would also avoid these and move on to better infantry as soon as you can. Get those research points spent. So, Rifle Squad. Now, this is your kind of base Finnish unit. As you can see, 200 HP, 125 stamina. So, straight away, almost double the stamina and double the health points, which is fantastic. They come with frags. They come with some anti-tank stuff like Molotovs. They even do come with some smoke grenades, I believe. They don't come with a light machine gun, which is a bit of a problem early on. So, you are lacking that. But you can make a decent run with these guys. I think they're pretty good infantry. And the stats are decent. Basically similar to your German riflemen or your Russian riflemen as well. So they're pretty good. Definitely worth the points. 87 manpower. And they take up, I believe, I think it's 20 population cap. So they're very fair. Or is it 18? But it's, yeah, they're a very good unit. Definitely could build a core of your army around these guys. Next, the LMG squad. I wouldn't bring these personally. Yeah, they bring an LMG. It's the Lati, which is magazine size 20. Like I said, it's not great. The Finns do have quite weak LMGs. It's not really worth bringing. You're better off bringing the rifle squad, having more men, and they're fitting a lot better to me personally. But, you know, if you really want that LMG early on, you can bring them. Scout section, pretty good. Basic recon unit. Decent-ish health, 150, but better stamina, so they can move around pretty quick if need be. Good for sending out for reconnaissance to get like 20% extra line of sight because they're a recon unit. Not bad. I don't tend to use them much myself, but if you want a recon element, they're a good solid choice. Then you've got the more modernised rifle squad. They come with an LMG straight off. It's the Lati. It's not the best LMG, but it does bring a bit of firepower. These guys obviously have 200 health, 125 stamina, and the stats are similar to the standard rifleman, but this is just a more modernised squad, and they come with frag smokes. I believe they come with some anti-tank like Molotovs and maybe some RPG grenades like the Russians, because obviously a lot of the equipment is Russian as well. But they're not a bad squad. I quite like them, just like the standard rifle squad. They're a bit more expensive than they lose a man, but manpower, population cap-wise, I believe they're a bit less. But yeah, another good solid core unit. Now, this is where the Finns get interested, the marksman squad. These guys are awesome. So, 200 health, 150 stamina. They're already veteran troops by the look of it. They already get veterancy 3, as you can see. Standard troops, you bet 1. But what is good about the marksman squad is the stats. That is level 7 rifle. Now, normally, the only thing that get level 7 are things like snipers. So, these guys have top tier rifle stats. As you can see, accuracy is 1.57, which is massive. You go to a standard rifleman, for instance, their accuracy is 0.94. So a massive bump, 50% increase over that actually. They don't come with LMGs, as you see, they just come with rifles, even the squad leader. And I don't believe he is a marksman, he's just a standard man, but they are very good over open terrain or fighting against enemies at range, these riflemen will outdo basically pretty much any unit in the game. They are fantastic. And here's another tip: if you use them in Conquest, if you pick up something like a Gavir, or for the Russians it'd be the SVT or the AVT, the semi-automatic rifle, they've got level 7. So you can get them armed with semi-automatic rifles, and it will massively increase the firepower of the squad. But the marksman squads, they're only 128 manpower. I think they're about 20 population cap per squad. They're very, very good. Now, not so good close quarters because lack of SMGs and stuff. But if you get a couple of squad of these, especially defensively, covering open terrain, hands down, some of the best infantry in the game for the points. I really like the marksman squad, and they look pretty badass as well. Assault squad, now these guys obviously come with, straight off the bat, 2 double SMG. They've got an automatic, a light machine gun. The SMG is the Bergman. It's not a bad one. Magazine size 50, so you can pump out a lot of rounds with these SMGs. They do come with frags and anti-tank grenades and smoke. They're not a bad unit, the assault squad, but they're not too different, personally, for me, from the rifle squad. The stats are basically the exact same, but it's if you want a slightly more aggressive squad, but there's normally better options. But if you do want some more SMGs and a bit more frag grenades and something a bit more close quarters orientated than the standard rifle squad, you can invest in that, I guess. But not really that important. You do get an automatic rifleman, as you see, the AVT, a salvage Russian weapon there. And you also get an SVT there. So you do get 2 semi-automatic rifles. But personally, I don't think they're that good. I'd go for some more elite infantry as soon as you can. They do fill that role far better. But you do get a few semi-automatic weapons which can be useful. Border guards are pretty good, as you can see. 300 HP, 200 stamina. The stats are decent. Now, these guys do come with frags things, but they also tend to bring quite a lot of anti-tank grenades. Some of them also have satchel charges, if I remember correctly. So the border guard squad are pretty damn good. And point-wise, all the Finnish infantry is quite cheap. So these are quite elite units, able to take on some of the best Russians and some of the best Germans. Obviously, these don't come with a light machine gun. They also don't come with any semi-automatic weapons apart from the SMG. So you kind of think of more like a lesser skilled marksman squad, but with more versatility because of the different equipment. But they're not a bad choice. I do like the border guard squad. And if you look on the tech tree, I think it's the border guard squad that leads to the border guard. So then you get border Jaegers, which are really quite elite as well. So if you go down that tech tree, they're slightly off. Next, you got the cavalry squad. These guys obviously have an LMG. It's the DP-27. It's not too bad. 47 round mag. It's the standard Russian one. 2 SMGs. They're not a bad squad. 300 HP, 200 stamina, decent stats. They also come with, frags, grenades. They also come with satchels. A lot of Finnish infantry come with they're like hand. If you look at the satchel, it's the satchel with the kind of stick grenade handle on it. So a lot of their troops come with anti-tank satchels, and the basic 3 kilogram satchel, but they do a lot of damage. So you can find you get a lot of anti-tank usage out of standard Finnish infantry. So the cavalry squad's not bad though. They're a decent all-round unit, and the high HP makes them worth it. So I have used them a little bit, but personally I'm a big fan of the marksman, but still not a bad choice. Next up we have the sniper. Now the Finns, obviously you've got the standard sniper, 350 HP, 250 stamina, rifle skill, 5. As I said, marksmen have better skill than the sniper rifle-wise, but if you want to bring a sniper, they are decent. Personally, jump straight to the elite sniper. This is supposed to be Sam O'Hyan, the White Death. If you don't know about him, read up on him. He's an absolute badass. He killed, I believe, over 700 people during World War II. HP, 438. Stamina, 375. Stats, rifle, 8. SMG, 7. And yes, he has an SMG on his back like the real-life Sam O'Hyan. The dude is a badass. If you want to get a sniper, for 200 manpower, bring the elite sniper, the White Death. He will cause carnage. Snipers aren't really a big use in my force, but some people do like them. If you're really skilled with them, this guy will make absolute nightmare for the enemy. He will rack up a lot of kills. And also, let's be honest, he looks absolutely badass. That white face mask really kind of spreads the terror a bit. Next, we've got the Jaeger squad. These are some of my favourites in my campaign. 350 HP, very high, 250 stamina. The stats are good. They come with rifles, as you can see. It's all bolt action, the standard, but they also have SMGs. These come with frags, anti-tank grenades, and a lot of satchel charges. I sometimes had 6 or 7 in the squad. So they're very versatile. You get them into close quarters, they can take on tanks, heavy weapons. Basically fantastic units. Really, really good. Then you've got the border Jaegers. These are obviously after the border guard squad. These are more elite versions. 350 HP, 250 stamina. They've got an SMG. Obviously got bolt action rifles, got SMG. They also have some semi-automatics as well. As you can see, I think do they get 2? Yeah, it's 2 of them. So they can put out a lot of firepower. They come with frags, they come with anti-tank grenades. I do believe they come with satchels as well. But like I say, 350 manpower, HP points. They're very tough. They're on par with the Jaeger squad easily. I would say, I'll show you again on the research tree, the Border Jaegers go down here for a slightly different infantry unit, but they are very effective. So, you know, I personally went for the Jaeger squad, but the Border Jaegers are arguably better because of the, you know, Jaeger squad gets no LMG, Border Jaegers do. But yeah, very good choice there, your elite infantry. Now, something to be said about Finland, if you take the top German infantry and the top Russian infantry, they're still better than Finland's. Like the Fallschirmjäger are better than these guys, and I think they're called the assault sappers for the Russians with a 400 HP in the body armor. They personally, I think, are better, but the Finns do have like a lot of satchels, a lot of anti-tank grenades. They've got a lot of versatility in the unit, so you do have some good infantry, but remember, when you come up against Fallschirmjäger and stuff, they're comparable or even better, because Finland is, in my opinion, a slightly weaker faction. So you do have to sometimes think about that. You're not just going to... People seem to think Finland has the best infantry. Unfortunately not, but they do have some good options. You also have the side commandos on the tree. These guys are just, you know, they're down the kind of sniper route. These guys, I never really used them much, but they have 300 HP, 250 stamina. But they are very competent, you know, stats-wise, LMG-wise. They've got the Lati. They're not bad. They're quite good at like going behind enemy lines, I guess, because they are commandos. They do bring, I believe, frag grenades, anti-tank grenades, and do have some satchels available to them. They have 2 semi-automatic rifles as well. So for a small squad, and quite cheap, they do pump out a lot of firepower. So they're good for kind of like a raiding force, but I didn't personally use them much. I think going down that route for the sniper, you're better off going down the Jaeger route or the Border Jaeger route, personally. But like I say, each their own. And also, if you want those marksmen, which are awesome. Next, you've got the AT detachment. Awful. Boys AT rifle. It's garbage. Don't take them. Just steal a Russian AT rifle. Far more effective. Just avoid them. Panzerschreck team. Fantastic unit. Cheap. Effective. I think they cost 6 population cap to bring. Panzerschreck's great. 70-meter range. Can take out pretty much any tank apart from the King Tiger straight on the front. But it will take out the sides and turret of it. So really good. Anti-tank squad. They're quite good. They've got the PTRD. The better Russian anti-tank rifle. They also have the Boys AT rifle, which is garbage, but you do get Panzerfaust. But personally, you're better off having the Panzerschreck because this is a bit of a mixed bag. I would also avoid this and just stick with the Panzerschreck team. Better range, better effectiveness. Medical squad, standard 2 medics, useful. You want to heal your troops, definitely a bring. They cost 4 population cap and 80 manpower, really, really good. AP miners, really good choice, just the same as the Russian and German ones. They cost 4 population cap, but 50 manpower. Same as the AT miners, both really good. Definitely bring some mines, really useful, especially on the Finns early on when the enemy starts teching tanks before you can. Mines can make a big difference. Finnish field engineers, really cool. So just the same as the standard field engineers, really good. But if you go down the Finnish engineer line, I'll just show you right now. Where are they? Oh, I lost. You can get down to things like engineer squad, heavy engineers, and Panzernest. The Finns have a lot of cool options when it comes to engineering, so definitely worth investing into. Flamethrower squad, well, standard flamethrower guy has that cool kind of Russian flamethrower thing. It's like a rifle flamethrower. Quite useful if you want to use a flamethrower. They cost 2 population cap and 60 manpower, but personally, I wouldn't say you definitely need them. If you really want to burn something out, bring one along. Heavy engineers, these guys are immense. Now, the stats don't matter at all. The main reason is, like standard engineers, can build a lot of fortifications, but one big difference. They can't build small trenches, which doesn't matter. What they can build is concrete bunker, or they can build the heavy anti-aircraft gun, which is a 75mm anti-aircraft, but it's kind of like the Pak 88. It's an anti-everything gun. It can also hit tanks. I believe it has 156mm or 166mm. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's very, very powerful. So these guys can build a concrete bunker or an anti-tank gun. So bring these along, get that anti-tank gun built. Also, when you're building it, you can put, once it starts, you can put both engineers on to build the anti-tank gun. I have a video on it in the fortifications if you look for it. You can also get other engineers to help. So that anti-aircraft gun, the heavy AA gun, is very effective. Also, the concrete bunker is pretty cool as well, and they can build other fortifications and obviously heal your tanks as well. So heavy engineers are amazing, 100 manpower, and I believe they cost just 4 population cap, but they're fantastic. Definitely try them out. It does take a little bit of time to build that AA gun, but even on the attack, it can be useful. You've captured a tough point, you dig in, you build that gun. It will take out pretty much everything except the heaviest of tanks. Engineering squad obviously brings pioneers, but also brings some AT miners and AP. It's a really weird mixed squad with a pioneer. I never personally used it, but I guess if you want to bring everything in one bag, you could, but go for the heavy engineers. They're just better, just far better. Tank crew, obviously, for recrewing tanks or salvaging. Do a lot of salvage, especially as Finland. Stealing. The Finns are great at stealing. It's just what they're good at. Steal everything you can. Steal as many tanks. Bring a few of these tank crews. Steal some T-34s and you'll be good to go. Ammo crate, obviously, definitely useful, but you don't need to explain that. Bring an ammo crate, always useful. 150 centimeter searchlight. These things basically give a lot of vision. They're really useful, so you definitely want to use some of these guys if you really want to spot stuff, but I never personally used them, but they do look quite cool. So I just need a bit of water dying there. Maxim. Now, the only bad thing about this, doesn't come with a gun shield, but it's still a decent machine gun. It has a 250 round belt fed, so it can pump out a lot of firepower. The Maxim's a good light machine gun. I think it's 6 population cap and 90 manpower. So yeah, it's definitely a good support weapon. I personally quite like it. DS39 stand also does not come with the gun shield. I personally prefer the Maxim to this because it's lower and it's harder to hit. This thing's good though if you want to put it above some sandbags or something, but I wouldn't really bring that over the Maxim. I personally prefer the Maxim. Now the Panzer Nest. This thing is a beast. Armour 5 to 70. These things have the MG34 machine gun. You tow them around and then you just deploy them like a support weapon so you can move them around. They're really, really good. They're basically a built-in fortification, but obviously because it's a game, you can move them around. I've used a couple of these in my Finnish campaign. They're really good, and it does take dedicated anti-tank to take them out. So they're really cool units, and it will panic the enemy because they see them as vehicles on the minimap as well. So really, really cool. I do like a Panzer Nest. 165 points, and I think they cost 8 population caps, so they're definitely worth it. Definitely a fun unit. Now we're on to the anti-aircraft guns. This is the Breda. It's a decent one. It has 73 mils pen, as you can see. I think it has a 10 round magazine or something like that. I can't remember the exact magazine of it. But yeah, it's a good solid anti-aircraft gun. Definitely good to go down the anti-aircraft line for the Finns. They have some really nasty weapons. I'll just show it off here. The Finns are kind of like the Germans. They have some great anti-aircraft guns. And you do get down to anti-aircraft weapons altogether. Next, you've got that, which is basically a dual Breda. 2 of them stuck together. That's all it is, but slightly different magazine. Pretty much similar. 2 guns, double the firepower. Looks absolutely badass. Definitely a good buy. Shreds through infantry, shreds through light armour. I really like this weapon system. For 220 manpower, I think it's about 12 or 14 population cap. It's definitely a buy. Fantastic weapon. Next, you've got the 40mm. It's not a bad anti-aircraft gun. The only bad thing, it only loads 4 rounds in the magazine. I'm a bit underwhelmed by this thing. And it's quite a chunky beast, no gun shield, quite easy to decrew, so I do tend to avoid these. I'm not the biggest fan. If you want to bring one, I guess, but I personally think the dual is better, but each to their own. This 75mm is actually what the heavy engineers can build, so it's 151mm. It's an anti-aircraft gun, but it's anti-everything. And this is what the heavy engineers actually build, but they build it with a bunker around it, like a concrete 1-foot bunker around it, so it gets 151mm max pen down to 125 at range. So this thing can rip through medium and heavy armour, and only the heaviest things can get through it. It's a really good unit, but personally, bring the heavy engineers and build one that way. It's far better, and it'll save you a lot of manpower as well. Now anti-tank rifles, or anti-tank weapons. This is a crew serve 2-man, so it moves around like, it's not like a light weapon. You actually have to move it around kind of like a machine gun. It's not bad. It's got 34mm pen max, but it's not actually as powerful as even the Russian AT. The only good thing is it's a 10-round magazine, and you can really knock the rounds out. It's quite good at sniping infantry though, but personally I wouldn't rely on it. It's not particularly great for an anti-tank weapon, but it does look quite cool with the skis on. So, you know, if you want to bring it, I think it's 6 population cap at 100 manpower, but it's not too bad. The 37mm light anti-tank gun, 64mm max pen. It's not bad, but the gun shield's not bad either. It's not a bad little anti-tank gun. Early in the war, it will deal with enemy light tanks like your BT series, but once the T-34s in KV comes, it will just get absolutely annihilated. And at range, it's only pumping out about 35mm a pen. So just beware, it's a very light anti-tank weapon. The 45 is pretty good, actually. It's basically the Russian 45mm gun. It's quite a nasty little anti-tank gun. I quite like it. It has a good fast fire rate, like 37. But, like I say, light tanks only, BT series. Don't rely on it taking out T-34s or KVs. The 4.7cm, this is like the German one. It's got 59mm pen max. It's not that good. But it's at range, as you can see, the drop-off is considerably less than a lot of these gun systems. So when they're at 36 at 150, this thing is at 44. So it is actually slightly better at range than some of the others. And it looks really weird with the kind of curved bars. It kind of reminds me of a puckle gun, if anyone knows what it is. It's like a really old school automatic firing weapon that never really worked. But yeah, it's not bad, but I wouldn't rely on it either. Like say, no gun shield. It's easy to kill the crew on it. I personally would not rely on that. If you anti-tank, you're better off kind of quickly teching up the anti-aircraft line. Then we get to the 5cm. This is the 5cm pack. It's got 102 mils pen. It's a great little anti-tank gun. It will deal with light tanks. It can deal with T-34s from the side, from the front sometimes, but be aware, T-34 from the front will tank shots from this and take it out. But it's a great supporting anti-tank weapon. If you get that set up on the flanks quite well, you'll rip through tanks and infantry. Definitely quite a decent gun. And the gun shield's fairly effective for the first two guys, but the two guys on the outer edges do get sniped quite a lot. 76mm field gun, solid choice. Really good. The Finns probably have the coolest field guns in the game, and you'll rely on them a lot. Bombard the enemy into submission. Solid field gun, same as the Russian one. Really good. It's a solid choice for 330 manpower. I think it's about 14 population cap to bring. Maybe even 20. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it is a really good field gun. And this is the long version of the 76. It also comes with some anti-tank rounds. It's actually pretty damn good. I personally prefer the short barrel because it arcs better, but this is still a very good, solid choice. It's only 10 manpower points more, and you do get some anti-tank rifle rounds as well, or anti-tank bullets, should I say, shots. This is the 7.5cm pack. This is awesome, but it's weird. It's not the 7.5cm standard pack. This is the same as the German ones. This is the converted French anti-tank gun, and it fires high explosive anti-tank shells, which are very effective. It will take out a T-34 if you hit it right. It's quite good because the high explosive anti-tank tends to do a lot of internal damage. It's good for blowing tanks up. It's quite a good support weapon. I personally really like it, but even though it says the penetration is not so good, the high explosive anti-tank shells will arc a bit, and if you hit the roof, you'll get straight through. So it's a great little anti-tank gun. This is a 76mm. This is the same as the Russian one. It's got 85 mils pen max. It's not a bad kind of, I'd say it's more of a field gun than an anti-tank gun. The gun shield's pretty good on it as well. Great supporting weapon. As you all know, if you played the Germans, these things cause hell on you. So yeah, definitely a good buy. Great supporting weapon, but don't rely on it purely for anti-tank. There are better options. Here's the actual 7.5cm pack, 150mm pen max, down to 119 at 150. Thing's a beast. Will take out T-34s. Can take out KVs sometimes, but obviously they tank quite a few hits. This will deal with everything except the heaviest of armour. Really good solid anti-tank. Definitely worth the buy. 500 manpower, and I think it's about 20 population cap, but it's fantastic. The gun shield's a little bit small, but dig that in well, it'll deal with most threats. This is the weird Finnish anti-tank gun, which looks like something out of like some kind of steampunk. 182 mils max pen, 70.5cm. It's basically a high velocity anti-tank gun. That's just shy actually of the Panther's main gun. This thing's a beast. It looks absolutely awful. Looks like it got put in a press, but it is absolutely amazing. It will take out an IS-2 as well because of the high penetration. At close range, it will rip through an IS-2. This thing has 144 mils at 150 meters. It's a beast. One of the best anti-tank guns in the game, bar the long 8.8cm. So the Finns do have that kind of pull out, and it's right down the anti-tank tree. I'll show you. It is just there, I believe. It's in a really weird spot, but it's definitely worth the price. Definitely buy it. Fantastic unit. If you like anti-tank guns, this is the beast. Mortars now. The Finnish mortar's 5cm, 50 mils. It's not particularly powerful, but it comes with around 80 shells or mortar shells. This thing fires really fast. I did a video on the mortars, and it's not the most powerful, but put an ammo crate near thing. It's basically a machine gun mortar. It's like bang, bang, bang. It's so quick. Nice little attack mortar. Also good if you want to capture weapon systems because it won't blow them up most of the time, so it can be great for helping you with the salvage as well. Next is the standard 8.81mm German mortar. It's a good solid mortar. It's not as good as the Russian one because it just has the standard HE and smoke. It doesn't have the white phosphorus ones, I don't believe. But yeah, a good supporting mortar. I quite like it. Then you got the 120mm. It's the same as the Russian one. Absolute beast. Like I said, I did a video on the mortars. Check that one out. It'll tell you a lot more about it. Really good. It can even knock tanks out. 120mm. It has great range as well. 460 points. I think it's 20 population cap. It's an absolute beast. One of my favourite units in the game. Then the field guns. Some more. This is a solid little field gun. Not so good for taking out tanks, but the HE shells will damage them. Not a bad support weapon. Will absolutely demolish infantry as well. So all the Finnish field guns are pretty damn good. So just keep, when you're on the field gun line, as you play your Conquest, Just move down whichever line you personally prefer, depending on what you want to get. All of them are good. All of them do great jobs. All of them kill infantry and light vehicles, and the bigger ones obviously kill heavier tanks. So they're all decent choices. The 84mm field gun, bigger, stronger, decent, good gun shield. Enough said. 84mm K18 late. It's just a slightly upgraded version. I think it does also come with some anti-tank rounds, but it's not a bad weapon. There are bigger field guns, but yeah, it's got a good fire rate, just like the 84. Solid choice. The 105, this is where they start to get big. This is kind of like the Russian 105 field gun. Great range, absolute horrible thing to fight against. Can cripple tanks and destroy medium ones and even damage heavy ones. Really good solid choice and a decent reload speed as well, so I do really like this field gun. This is the bigger 105, this is like the German 10.5cm. This is more of a field art, like a howitzer. Good kind of bombardment weapon, accurate, decent fire rate, probably one of the best support field guns in the game, or artillery pieces, should I say, howitzers. Really good solid choice. You can't really go wrong with that as well. It's quite pricey at 810. As you can see, it's a bit cheaper, but they do shoot up in value. Next, you got the 105. This is the, I believe, the longer barrel version. I think it gets increased range, but it's still a very solid choice. Good, and they do come, I believe, with anti-tank rounds as well. So they are great, but quite pricey. So you've got to definitely protect them. Another 107 field gun, just a slightly newer variant, just as good. They're all fairly similar. Good value, good fire rate, can damage quite a lot of things. Nightmare for infantry and light vehicles as well. 120mm, this is kind of more of a, they are field guns, but this is where it comes more like a cannon. These things are powerful. At 120mm, they can even damage heavy tanks. Pretty damn good. Personally, I prefer the 122mm, which is next, but yeah, a good solid choice. This is the 122mm, the short barreled. I love these. I had 2 of these in my Finnish Conquest. They have a good fire rate, they do good damage, and they can cripple all but the biggest tanks. They'll demolish infantry. Get 2 of these working in tandem, and you've got a really good battery. Really like this field gun, fantastic. Or this howitzer, should I say. 150, it's not bad. It's basically similar to the German one, but it's obviously 150mm. It's kind of slow fire rate for me. Personally, I prefer the 122, but it will demolish quite a few things. I found the 122 was a lot more accurate as well, but it's still a good choice. Quite pricey. Costs about 30 pop cap as well. But yeah, definitely a good choice if you like your artillery. But I'd go for the 122. This is the beast. This is my favourite. You've also got the 155 kind of short barreled howitzer. I did try these. I personally didn't like the reload speed. Like I said, the 122 is more than enough. If you're at the point that you need 155mm of howitzer stuff, you probably need an anti-tank gun, personally. So stick to the 122. Far better and better value for money. The 17cm mine werfer, which is a World War I mine launcher. It's basically a super mortar. It only has a 170m range. I've got it in my mortar video. Definitely give it a look. But this thing will take out pretty much anything in the game. It looks a beast. It's definitely really cool looking. Looks very kind of just like it was bolted together in the shed. It's a good choice, but like I said, it's a 170m range. So it's very close range, but it will demolish anything it touches. Think of it as a mini Carl super mortar. You know, the Carl Siege mortar is a mini version. It's really fantastic. Good unit. Definitely fun to try. It's 103mm. I did try this thing. It's very, very powerful, but it's very slow to reload and not as accurate as I wanted it to be. Definitely good if you need to knock some fortifications down, but like I said, if you get to the point where you need to take something out of this, you probably need like an anti-tank gun because you can kill infantry easy enough. This thing's a bit overkill, but it does look cool. But yeah, it's fun to use. I'd definitely try it. If you go down the tree, it's one of the last artillery pieces to unlock. But it's I did use it a couple of times. It's not bad, but like I say, 122 does the job for everything in my opinion. Next they get the basic Neville, the 15cm Neville werfer. It's a good unit, but unfortunately they don't get access to the bigger ones. This is the only rocket artillery they get access to, so they are outclassed by the Russians and Germans in that sense. But still, if you want some Nevilles, it's a good solid choice. And here we have the bicycle, quite a weird unit. It's basically the equivalent to the motorbike. If you want some mobile kind of infantry and kind of fun, you can use the bicycle, but I do tend to avoid them. They're very cheap, but I wouldn't waste your time on them personally. They won't survive long, but kind of fun. Standard Ford supply truck or transport truck, very light. Transport troops, tow weaponry. But yeah, that's basically it. Supply truck, very useful. 1200 munitions in, fantastic value. Definitely bring a supply truck, really good. You will need them in the battle, especially if you start using artillery. And they can also tow stuff as well, which is fantastic. Fuel truck, you shouldn't need these. It's very rare that your vehicles run out of fuel, but if you need fuel, there it is. Quite flammable. Don't let them explode. They'll kill quite a few things. Engineering truck, good choice. Will resupply your engineers, so if you're building trenches, barbed wire, bunkers, it will resupply them. I don't believe it resupplies the heavy engineer, but I've heard it can do sometimes. So you might have to test that out, but definitely if you've got a lot of fortifications being built on defence, it's a good value if you need to keep building more stuff. But normally the battle's over by then. But yeah, interesting choice. The Ford with the anti-aircraft gun. Not a bad weapon actually, but very light. If you do want them for a bit of mobile anti-air or mobile kind of light anti-tank, they are pretty quick. But like I say, the armour's between 2 and 8. Light machine guns, rifles can take them out, so just be careful. Your driver will get sniped at as well. Now, first we hit the tanks. It starts off with the tankette. This is the same as the Russian T-20. It's garbage, has a machine gun. Its armour's 10 max. It's very, very light. I wouldn't personally bring it, but you can sit some troops on it. I think 4 men can get on it. Well, no, it's 8 men can get on it. Jesus, don't know how, but... or is it 6? Because 6 more with the crew. But it will die quick. The machine gun's only a DT as well, so it's not particularly good. I wouldn't invest in that. BA-10, really good armoured car actually. Has a 45mm main gun and 2 DT machine guns. Armour's between 6 and 10, but these things, because the 45mm main gun, it's actually got a powerfuler gun than most light tanks in the game, so this armoured car can be quite nasty at sniping stuff. And if you look down the research tree at it, let's just quickly have a look. The BA-10 is only down there, so you can quickly get down to it, and you literally have a better anti-tank than most armoured vehicles for the early game. So quite a nasty vehicle. They definitely scare me when I come up against them. But like I say, they're a bit of a glass hammer. They have very light armour, so do be careful. The Landsvark is a bit of a different one. 5-man crew. It has a main gun, which is the 20mm autocannon. It also has 2 machine guns. It's not bad actually. It comes with 5 to 15 armour. It's quite a good kind of light vehicle hunter, an infantry hunter. And because you have 5 men, you can jump out a couple of the squad if need be to go hunting. I do quite like it, and 6 wheels. It looks cool. It looks a bit like something out of Warhammer 40k. But the BA-10 is the better choice personally. But it's a bit cheaper. But go for the BA-10. It's far better. FT-17 Maxim. Just don't. It's awful. The worst thing is not just the armour, it's the speed. The speed is 8 kilometres an hour. It's like 4 miles per hour. It's garbage. It's really, really bad. The armour's crap. The Maxim is quite useful itself, but just don't. It's not a good tank. Just don't. Please don't. T-37A is the little amphibious Russian tank. It's better than the FT, but also not a good choice. Only has a DT. It's lightly armoured. If you really, really need a tank, I guess you could, but you're probably better off with a tankette than that. But it's quite cheap, but personally I wouldn't bring it. It isn't going to last long, and some heavy machine guns can actually rip through the armour, because it does have quite light armour in certain points, so just be careful. The FT-17 with a 3.7mm gun, or 37mm, it's even worse than the Maxim one. Just don't. It's awful. Crap penetration, 17 mils. No machine gun to support either. It's just, if you're going to choose an FT, choose the Maxim, but just please don't. They're awful. They're really, really bad. They are just, can't stress how garbage they are. Vickers, 6 tons, actually pretty good. Decent weapon, 64 mils pen. It's quite a powerful anti-tank gun. Comes with 2 machine guns. Comes with a Maxim machine gun, which is at the bottom here, which is quite powerful. And it's got a coaxial Sumi, which is a submachine that's very fast. It's actually quite a good tank. Definitely not bad. And if you look on the chart, the Vickers is one of the first ones you get. So go straight through the FTs, get the Vickers. It's pretty damn good. I do like the Vickers. Definitely a decent vehicle. T-26E, it's the Russian one. It's lighter than the Vickers armour-wise, slightly. Oh, it's actually the same, sorry. But it's actually got quite a good gun, 45mm. It's got 63 mils pen. It's got a Suomi and a DT. I personally prefer the Vickers, but it's not a bad tank either. It's the same as the Russian space of the T-26. It's definitely a good little tank. Can't go wrong with it. Definitely useful for the early game. Good light support. You've got the other T-26, which is a slightly bit lighter variant. Comes with just a DT and the 45mm main gun. Just as good, really. Slightly lighter, but anything that kills that will probably kill this. Definitely a good light tank support. I'm quite a big fan of the T-26 these days. This one's a bit uglier, though. This one looks cooler. This one's got that horrible antenna on the top. But looks a bit like a crappy mod, like a weird robot. But yeah, definitely not a bad tank. Definitely worth bringing. BT-5. This is a great Russian tank that the Finns get access to. Really good. Like the BT5, it's fast, decent main gun, got a machine gun, armour's not bad between 6 and 40. Yeah, big fan of the BT5, one of the best of the BT series, which is the tanks built before the T-34 was kind of the influence on them. Great all-round light / kind of getting into that medium support, fantastic vehicle. KHT 130 flame tank, it's actually really good, not a good flame tank, very light, but if you do need something to arc some flame over something, it will kill a lot, and it comes with about 200 in the clip, 200 fuel in the magazine for the flamer, so it's one of the better flamers. And it has a DT machine gun, can also light vehicles on fire, so if you want something incendiary, being the flame tank, definitely good solid choice, pretty cheap as well. T50, same as the Russian ones, actually quite a good little tank, between 12 and 51 armour. It's fast at 38 kilometres, so it's not as fast as the BT5, but still pretty nippy. 63 mils pen, dual DT machine guns, which are really good, they're rapid. I really like this tank, and it's really cool looking. And remember, the arm might be thinner in some points, but it's sloped. That's what you have to remember. Just because the arm, it's not just about the thickness, it's the slope. And it's got sloped arm. The BT does not have that as the slope at the front, but it has a lot shot traps. T50 is basically a mini T-34, so it's really good. Good solid choice. Great vehicle. Landsverk L62 anti-tank thing. It has that 40mm main gun. Only a 4 round in the magazine, but it's quite mobile. It's light, 5 to 30, but early on these things are quite deadly because of the mobility of it. It's quite fast at 45 kilometers an hour. They're quite lethal, great for flanking and great for support. Can be a nasty support weapon. Definitely a shock early on if you have to come against these. Really good. The BT-42, the king, the emperor, the god hammer. This thing is the best vehicle the Finns have. Now you might be thinking, why? Armour 6 to 20 mils. It's a glass hammer. It's that 140mm main gun. Comes with high explosive rounds, which will decimate most things. Also comes with high explosive anti-tank rounds, and they will take out everything shy of an IS-2 or a King Tiger. And even if you hit them right, it will take them out. And it also fires like a assault gun, so it arcs its rounds, so you can get behind cover. This thing is amazing. I used them in the Finnish campaign. Fantastic supporting anti-tank and supporting kind of mobile howitzer. Really, really good. It was built on that BT chassis, as you can see. Definitely the best Finnish tank in my opinion. Glass hammer though, very light, but the weapon is amazing. Fantastic unit. Definitely bring one. Awesome. I'd bring 3. Really good. T28, not a bad light tank altogether early on. Comes with 4 DT machine guns and the main 76mm. It's the early multi-turreted tanks of the Russians. It's also got a rear machine gun, which is fantastic. So you've got 4 machine guns on the main gun. It's quite light, between 10 and 30 armour. But, you know, that main gun's quite good. Early on, it's quite decent, but it's the T28, I believe. It's quite far down the Finns' vehicle line. By the time you're there, the Russians will have T-34s and KVs, so it'll be outclassed. But I do quite like, it's quite good for assaults with the machine guns. It will chew infantry up, but it won't last long against tanks, so just a warning. T-34 76, not a bad vehicle. T-34, stolen from the Russians, reused by the Finns, fantastic. Good all-round armour, decent gun, decent machine guns, good speed, fair price. Yeah, T-34, you can't really go wrong with that. I do like the T-34. The Finns have the kind of best of both those. They get the T-34 and the Panzer IVs and stuff, so it's great. Panzer IV-J, this is the late stage Panzer IV. It's very far down the chart. The only bad thing about the Finn tank chart, as you can see, you either go down the German line, then here, or you have to go down the Russian line. So you do have to, it's a lot of points to get all the way down. But it's got that 7.5cm main gun. It's got decent armour, 10 to 80, no side skirts. This was the late production model where it was trimmed down to make it easier to make. But very good. Support vehicle, well, main tank, kind of medium tank. Can take out T-34, but also hasn't got much sloped armour, so it's not as survivable as the T-34, but really, really good tank. Great supporting vehicle. T-34-85, Beast, another captured Russian tank. Everything good about the T-34 on steroids, and it's got an 85mm main gun. This thing can take out Tigers with the right kind of angle. Definitely one of the best medium tanks in the game, very powerful. And that larger turret, as you can see, the T-34's got the small turret there. That larger turret means it's also got a better reload speed. So really good vehicle, definitely worth the points. And yeah, can't go wrong with that. KV-1E, solid choice. Kind of slow, but for a biggish tank, not too bad actually, but heavily armoured. Kind of undergunned for the tank of this size, but this thing is your hammer. Well, it's your anvil. The enemy will keep hitting it and it won't die. So just sit it there and just get hit after hit after hit and just take as many hits as you need to. This thing will distract the enemy while something like a T-34 goes around and kills it. Really good kind of anchor tank for keeping your forces survivable. And on defence is nearly unkillable. And they're the biggest tanks, the biggest AT guns are going to take it out. KV-1 1942 has, like, it's basically an upgraded variant of this one. This one's got the armour bolted on, whereas this one's actually cast with the armour. And I believe it has the exact same gun. No, slightly different gun, I believe. That's the old 31.5. This one has the 42, so it has a slightly better gun. And obviously all the KVs have the machine gun at the back, and the whole machine gun, and the coaxial. So yeah, quite a lot of firepower. Slightly better version than the KV. Definitely a good buy. I do like the KVs. Good for defence, good for assault. And this one's packing a little bit more of a punch, which is great. Stu 40G is basically the more advanced version of the Stu with a better armour, but with the Finnish kind of own version of it. Great 7.5cm main gun. Has a DT machine gun support. Pretty survivable. 10 to 80 armour. Kind of reminds me, it's basically similar to kind of like the German Panzer IV, but the Stu's obviously an assault gun. I really like the Stu's. They're quite a bit cheaper than, oh no, they're actually more expensive in this one than the Panzer IV, but very powerful, very effective. And yeah, they're good tank hunters and really, really good tough little tanks. Definitely a good buy. And population cap, I think they're only 20, so it's really good. And finally, we have the ISU 152, or the JSU, should I say. It's Joseph Stalin, yeah. Big beastie, 152mm howitzer on tracks. Also has a Dushka machine gun. Great support, like howitzer. Even though it's got 30 to 90 armour, it's quite easy to be killed. And it has quite a lot of kind of side flat armour, so be careful. But yeah, if you need a howitzer that rolls, that's your choice. It's quite pricey. Biggest beastie that the Finns get. And it's pretty useful, but I'm not a big fan of these personally, simply because by the time you get to them by the Finns, they'll be deploying IS-2s, so you're better off going down the BT, get the BT-42, it's king. So yeah, that's the Finnish tech, the trees shown. Obviously you have all the support, which are decent, 50kg bomb, same as the other ones basically, just different aircraft, and the mortars are very similar, and the artillery strikes are similar. Finns, like I said, you've got really good field guns, you do have some unique units, but they're weaker of all three factions personally. But you can make them work. Use those infantry, use those satchel chargers, use those BT-42s, use those weird-looking anti-tank guns. Where is it? That creepy thing. You know, use the unique units, and you will come out on top. And if you can win as the Finn, you can win as anyone. Anyway, I hope you found it useful. Tell me what strategies you use. Tell me what you think of the units. Tell me what you thought I got right, what you thought I got wrong. And thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you on the next one.